Welcome to an introduction to environmental economics. Features. In our previous video, An Introduction to Capitalism, the features of the capitalist system were explored. Much like capitalism, environmental economics works under the principle of markets, producing goods at profit. Environmental economics adds the notion of a market to protect the environment to this, aiming to produce the goods, but limit the effects of environmental degradation, pollution, and resource scarcity. But how is this achieved? Under this model, if an action would cause potential harm to a location or land feature, the feature itself is given a valuation. This economic value is based upon the direct value of the land feature. Are there any raw materials that can be taken from it? The indirect value of the feature. Does it form part of an ecosystem? Option. What could you not do in the future if you took the action you intend to do now? And existence, the innate value of the land feature in its own right. So let's look at an example. A mining business would like to drain this river, as they have reason to believe there are large supplies of silver underneath its surface. In order to determine whether this is a good idea, a full valuation of the river is brought into effect. First, the direct value of the river. The river itself is a source of water, and the land around it may be more fertile due to the presence of the river. The indirect value of the river comes next. Assuming that there is not an underground source of water, this river may be the only source of water to the large number of plants growing around it. These plants in turn may be a habitat to several creatures, and so may the river itself. Draining the river would remove the source of water from the ecosystem, having severe negative effects upon it. Next, future options are considered. By draining the river, it removes several future options. With world populations increasing, farming land is becoming increasingly important. If the land around the river is particularly fertile, it will cease to be if the river is drained, making it unusable as farming land in the future. Alternatively, the river could be a suitable site for a hydroelectric dam. Draining the river would eliminate this possibility. Finally, the innate value of the river is considered. A value is assigned to it based on its right to exist and the creatures around its right to exist. Any aesthetic value that the river may have is also taken into account. All of these individual values are combined to form one economic value for the land feature. If this value is greater than that the mining facility may offer, the river stays. So, does this seem like the perfect solution? Unfortunately, there are some challenges associated with it. How is the valuation made? This is particularly difficult in the case of ethical or aesthetic concerns. Consider how you'd be able to place value on an entire ecosystem. Who would make this valuation? Would a government be qualified? And would the business be biased? Would the valuation even protect the land feature? Or could it be used as a beat stick to justify environmental degradation? For example, a business could deliberately predict a high figure for what the value of the location is worth to them, knowing that the value of the land feature would be lower. Finally, is it right or fair to monetize everything? Can innate value face off against capital gain? Let us consider this example from Disney. We have two characters, Snow White and Crone. During the film, we were unwittingly conditioned to prefer one character to the other. Disney did this by exaggerating one feature of the characters. They made Snow White exceptionally beautiful and made Crone extremely ugly. This automatically set the audience against Crone from the moment she walked on screen. While this may not seem relevant, the point is that environmental economics places direct economic gain against an economic value that cannot be accessed. And in a system which at its heart is still capitalist, one will always look more attractive than the other. So, what do you think? Could this idea work? Or should we keep looking? Please feel free to have your say on our Twitter feed, or continue watching our introductory videos.